Stand by. In 3, 2, 1.
Reality. Are you living it?
You are a function of this total galaxy, bounded by the Milky Way, and that furthermore, this galaxy is a function of all other galaxies.
Our reality.
The show that will stretch your consciousness and awaken you to a world of unlimited possibilities. It's time to change the world. It's time for an awakening. It's time for Our Reality. Hosted by your emissary to planet Earth, Violeta Frankovic.
Hey, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to Our Reality, the show where we discuss our present reality as well as any events of our interest that happened in the past or are to happen in the future in our reality. So today my topic is D.U.M.b.s, or deep military underground bases. And it will be an interesting topic. I know some of my listeners know already a lot about them and the existence of them and so on. But the directive on planet Earth, when we come here as aliens in human bodies, is to educate, to also, spread awareness, spread knowledge, and thereby lift consciousness. So I'd like to go a little bit deeper into it today. And the reason why mostly is because in my personal life and the alien experiences I have had. My background is an alien contactee since I was very little. And telepathically, the clear directive was always that we came here to help. We're aliens in human bodies. However, it's not always very obvious to anybody around us because we are hence in human bodies. And it's just that we end up having a lot of different experiences that are very unusual and that quote unquote normal, because what is normal, right? But quote unquote normal humans don't have. So some of my experiences were with various types of extraterrestrials, praying mantis, reptilian, different fractions of gray beings. So in some of my experiences, I would find myself in my dreams in those deep underground bases, and that's what caused my whole fascination for them. I will talk to you a bit towards the end of the show, probably about those experiences, so we can go deeper into it. But for now, I wanted to start and talk about these underground bases, which are basically subterranean facilities, and they're all over the world. There's over 10,000 of them worldwide, and they're not specific to the U.S. government only. Iran has them, Russia has them, China has them, and a lot of times they will be also financed by different corporations and in different parts of the world. For example, I remember visiting Greece one time, and there was definitely a deep underground base off of the island of Corfu. I could feel it, in my remote viewing and whatever I was experiencing when I was there. But so they're all over the world. Some of them, especially the ones in the U.S., but not partial to the U.S., are connected by maglev trains, which are trains that average 17,000 miles per hour. And they are worldwide as well. So, I don't want to explore this topic from a place of fear. That's one thing I wanted to discuss, because a lot of times in our conspiracy world, when we discuss something like this, we approach it from a perspective of them against us, or New World Government, or all these secrets against us, the normal population. And that's not the route I want to take. I want to take it purely in an educational sense, because I find that the more you approach any topic without the presence of fear or presence of an agenda, the better you can understand the information and more objective it becomes. And also easier to digest, right? So now, as far as the complete existence of it, we have to understand that there is a surface world, a world that we live in, for example, a world full of entertainment, presidents who act almost like a front figures to whatever is happening in the background, and the world control is something entirely different. So the whole picture of the existence on Earth is kind of it's dual, in the sense that we have a surface world, of a majority of people who work, go about their lives in a normal way, and watch TV, their favorite shows, teams, and so on. Work 8 to 5 or have their own businesses, are focused on survival, following their specific religion, and so on. And then there is another reality of, I would say, workers and scientists and people who are privy to the world of extraterrestrials, advanced science, and so on. So with that in mind, I want to mention the black budget. So the black budget is, everybody's familiar with, or most people are, is a secretive budget, and it garners almost 25% of the gross national product of the United States, and it almost 1.25 trillion per year goes into the D.U.M.B. project, and or the Deep Underground Military Bases project. Now, before the whistleblower Edward Snowden, I'm sure you're familiar with him. So actually, President Trump was mentioning he might pardon him, which would be amazing because he did so much for the planet in informing us. But he came out with a lot of information about how much actually goes into these deep underground bases, and how much is really spent on black projects in the United States alone. So these underground facilities, which are around the world, they are basically contain computer centers, massive servers. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them contain genetic experimentation laboratories, clone mills, also mind control research and control systems. And they also contain training facilities for the forces that are separate from the United States military per se. Now, with the Space Force, President Trump created a sixth branch of the military, and the Space Force is going to, of course, again, there will be one story for the public of what it does, and a different story for what it really stands for. But it is definitely going to work with different alien factions and so on, and it already does through these deep underground facilities. Now, these underground facilities, some of them are 10 miles to 30 miles wide. They have whole underground cities underneath. They have their own ventilation systems and so on. And for people who are already a little bit familiar with them, this will be no new information. But for people who aren't, we just have to understand that there is technology out there which literally can create such deep, for lack of better terms, holes in the earth, almost like lava tubes, and basically they're nuclear powered machines, and they're subterraneans, and they build tunnels up to 40 feet in diameter, and they work, as they work, the rock is melted into a hard glassy like lining, and fully filtered air intake shafts. They bring fresh air to the tunnels and underground facilities. So a lot of them are close to airports, seaports or railroads, and for obvious reasons, because if you want to transport something, which happens, you want to be close to a above ground railroad, an airport, or a seaport. And a lot of times they have entrances that trucks can drive into, as well as ships and submarines can sail into. And some of the entrances on Earth are protected by holograms, and they look like the side of a mountain, but the vehicles will be able to just drive through them because it's a hologram. It's not a real mountain, if that makes any sense. Not sure, I wish a lot of my listeners would connect with me, because I'm not sure how awake they are, a lot of them, but feel free to connect and let me know. because some of this information might be something you already heard, or some of it might be new. Okay, so we have these hidden entrances, and where I said the trucks can drive through, and they have they're lowered via access shafts down into underground areas, and they're used for both homeland security, in order to divert any missiles and so on, like, for example, NORAD, as well as for underground facilities that do genetic experimentation and I would say deep scientific projects, because as we know, and we've mentioned in previous shows, the fact is that the research and the science is way, way ahead of what we actually know here on the surface world, I will say. One of the interesting things when you think about it is, for example, in Denver, the Denver airport, the Stapleton International, it took $4.7 billion to build it. And there's a well-known military base under it. And, it doesn't take $4.7 billion to build an airport, which was already a perfectly good airport, or improve it. So you can always see that there's reasons behind reasons. So I want to mention a few interesting underground bases. One would be the Cheyenne Mountain Complex, and we know it's a military installation here in the U.S. It's a defensive bunker in El Paso, Colorado, and it's next to the city of Colorado Springs. It's where the NORAD, North American Aerospace Defense Command, is located. And they're basically there to provide aerospace warnings and protection for Northern America. And they work together with the Canadian forces as well on that part. Then an interesting thing, which I wanted to make a point of the fact that this is not a United States thing. It's a worldwide thing. And you have a Cheyenne Air Force Base, which is a military airport, above the airport, operated by the Republic of China. And it's in Taitung County, Taiwan. You can research that. And it has extensive underground hangars. It's one of the most important defense installations in that part of the world. And it houses a lot of military and the survivable aerial counterattack forces. Now, one other particular one which talks about aliens and is actually almost 6 to 7 stories deep is the D.U.M.B.s base, and it's in Archuleta Mesa in New Mexico, near the town of Dulce, New Mexico. I'm sure you've heard about it, and it's here in the United States, of course. There was a man by the name of Phil Schneider. I know a lot of you may be familiar with him, but he was killed after he gave a lot of talks and interviews about these topics and also about these bases. Now, why I'm not afraid to talk about it is because a lot of this information is common knowledge. Now, for him, it was a little different because he was involved and he was working in it. So if somebody checked his background and his credentials, they would be able to verify that most of it is true. Whereas somebody like me who can speak about it from experience in an unusual manner, which is extraterrestrial, teleporting. When I'm talking teleporting, I don't mean body, I mean the subtle body, remote viewing, and so on. And I might be less believable to the factual people, even though facts can be gathered both physically and also out of body. So in D.U.M.B.s base, especially in the conspiracy world, there's claims of alien activity there, and I would be able definitely to confirm that. And it's very interesting, when you go into these black projects and how much is actually kept from us. Now, there's also a significant, amount of bases in Iran, and that's, why a lot of sanctions are imposed on Iran and so on, because they have whole missile cities there, and they're in different provinces and cities of Iran. And those bases are also very equipped with road and mobile erector launcher and trucks, other hardware, which could pose a significant threat to the U.S. and Russia. So, they are basically the airspace forces of the army of the Islamic Revolution. They have their own weaponry there. Now, the Raven Rock Mountain Complex is another one, is a U.S. military installation with a bunker near Blue Ridge Summit in Pennsylvania. It's also called the Underground Pentagon. And it has operation centers there for United States Army, Navy, and Air Force. So when we go a little bit deeper into these things, then we begin to understand that if there is interest, the whole point is raising your intelligence, raising your vibration, raising your awareness, and then hopefully being able to act in your life on planet Earth from that perspective that improves the whole existence. The fourth or fifth air base I wanted to mention is because it was one of the largest in Europe during the times that was officially operational. It was called the Željava Air Base, and it's in Croatia and Bosnia and Herzegovina. And it was one of the largest underground and airport military bases in ex-Yugoslavia and one of the largest in Europe. Currently, to my knowledge and common knowledge, it's not operational, but it's interesting. So you almost ask yourself, why the need for that? Well, again, you always have to think about the world above ground and the world that deals with entertainment and us working, and then the world that is kind of held in secret. So when we think about that, then we look at the U.S. government that alone classifies over 500 million pages of documents each year. So there's a question, how can we know anything about what is happening on our planet as a whole if so much information is classified and hidden from the public domain? And it is usually moved far beyond the reach of the public. And it deals with, and it's honestly, it's far beyond capabilities with regards to technology, scientific and cosmological knowledge, and more. So it's implied to think that not only is the surface population deemed not intelligent enough, probably, to understand what's going on, but also intentionally dumbed down and distracted. Okay, and only a portion of total knowledge is given to it. And then when we follow that same logic, we would and I'm referring back to the old shows that I had, and when I was talking about how reptilians and a lot of factions that are in charge of planet Earth currently look at the human population almost from a resource perspective and not from a perspective of an equal. So when we go deeper into these explanations of, these projects, you understand that indeed, it's our responsibility to educate ourselves enough, not in an aggressive manner to say, like savages, hey, they're lying to us, let's, burn it all down. No, that's not an intelligent response. So our job is to raise our consciousness, raise our intelligence, so we can actually meet it and understand it and maybe be open to this classified world. And there is a man by the name of Richard Dolan, and he made a nice, bold statement, and he said, according to our best estimates, more than half of all U.S. government records are classified. For an archivist seeking to preserve and understand our history, that means most of our history is kept secret from us. Think about that for a moment. And that's interesting. Really, if we have time, we should all think about it for a moment. And now, the United States in particular, because it is a major world power, the world power, no doubt, has a history, of government agencies that existed in secret. For example, the NSA, which was founded in 1952, its existence was hidden until mid-1960s. And then also, when Edward Snowden leaked, he was a former intelligence contractor. He leaked a lot of info and shed the light on black budget world, which is, full of special access programs and garnishes trillions of dollars to conduct those operations that general public knows nothing about. But they do, even though they don't exist publicly, they do exist, and they're known as deep black programs. And even in 1997, U.S. Senate report described them as so sensitive that they're exempt from standard reporting requirements to the Congress. So that's quite interesting. That shows you right there and then that there is things really that are going on that are not, that are hidden from view, but they are accessible, which is interesting. So that's where our consciousness comes into play, where we have to improve our intelligent consciousness and focus in order to, also scientifically raise or maybe speed it up so that we can, instead of being controlled, we can be on the same level and eventually become part of the Galactic Federation and of light. So the whole project here on planet Earth for us aliens, which is going to be continued long after my current life, and your lives, is going to be definitely to keep raising the vibration here on planet Earth, keep raising the consciousness, keep raising the knowledge, to close that gap between the controllers of planet Earth and the majority of population. And we can each do our part by intelligently researching about a lot of things, and just the more aware we are, the better. And that awareness has to come with spiritual wisdom as well, and intelligence and goodness. And then we will be in perfect alignment to ascend. And eventually movies, for example, like Valdemar Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets will be a reality, which if you haven't seen it, I would recommend. So we will be taking a break here shortly. When we come back, I may discuss a little bit more about these underground bases, maybe a little more about Area 51, Dream World, and I will definitely mention the experiences I have had that actually led me to look into these deep underground military bases deeper. So when we come back, we'll discuss that. So stay tuned, and we should be back shortly. Thank you.
And now, your emissary to planet Earth, the host of our reality, Violeta Frankovic.
Hey everyone, welcome back to our reality, where today we are dealing with the topic of deep underground bases and the fascination with them. I mean, they are very, very fascinating. So, there's an enormous amount of evidence that proves their existence, that these secret military bases are not just a conspiracy theory, but they're indeed there. Now, because I said at the beginning of the show, I'm trying to approach this from an aspect of no fear, just information only. Didn't want to, go into what could happen or what they would be used for in case something happened here on the surface. But when we talk about that, of course, our concern with our current existence is normal. It's normal to be concerned about your current life. But whatever happens, if we just look at it from a standpoint of a movie being played, and that movie being our life from beginning to finish, and then we will gonna get a chance to go into another movie, another life, and so on, then really whatever happens here is not so devastating. And if we could just imagine ourselves from the perspective of a spiritual being, none of that fear needs to exist, because we will perish either way, either through a natural disaster or natural death at some point. So, but yes, even me and my producer were talking during the break, and she was correctly saying, a lot of these underground bases will be used, for, certain people to be protected, and then we might be exposed here on the ground, on the surface. So that's true. But yeah, so there's hundreds of military bases like that around the world, and even after disclosure, there will be, it's going to go deeper and deeper. How they were conducting alien experiments, working already with UFO and research on different developments. They have under ocean bases and more. Now, we know that military operates at these defense installations mostly, and within those number of classified projects are also involved extraterrestrials, right? And I did mention at the beginning of the show that I had some of the experience, and I did mention also that I am an alien contactee, which I would also often find myself in my dreams in these bases, and I was thinking to myself, until my consciousness matured, that I could understand what's going on. But I wanted to mention to you two dreams that were very interesting, that actually confirm, in my view, what goes on in these installations. So one dream, which I connected with Mr. Emery Smith on, because it's the first time I ever heard anybody outside of my dream mention the same thing, was I found myself to my knowledge, in my dreams, I always know I'm dreaming, so it's called lucid dreaming. But you always know that you're dreaming, and you're getting like information about the dream as you're dreaming it. So in my dream, I find myself in a laboratory down underground. Immediately before the dream, my spirit, or my subtle body, had gone, outside of myself and into the stratosphere, and I was looking down on Earth, and I was seeing it from a plasmic state, from a state of plasma, so not from a state of the way we see it right now. And I was seeing a grid around Earth, and in that grid I saw something floating, and it looked like a stingray. I knew it was a ship, a UFO ship, but it looked like a stingray, and it was floating through that plasmic state. So on a little slightly different vibration than what we exist here on and share. And the next thing I know, I was deep in the underground military base, surrounded by people in lab coats. And one particular doctor stood out. She was a female, had her hair always tied in the back and longer hair. And I had a metal, thing, like a hat around my head. And I looked straight ahead of me, and I saw the stingray that I had seen up above. I saw it in the lab, and it was right in front of me. And the doctor said, "Go ahead and kill it. Use your mental powers to kill it." And I said, "No, I'm not going to do that." And she said, "Yes, you will." And I said, "No, I'm not." And she put something in my vein, and I don't remember anything but waking up inside the dream. And seeing that being, that ship basically was alive. It was like a conscious ship. It was part being, part or for lack of better terms, metal. It may have not been metal. It could have been any kind of titanium or whatever. But it was separating, and it was dying right in front of me. And I woke up from that dream, and I went, "Whoa, what is going on? Something's going on above Earth, and then something's going on down under, and these people know about it, and I know this was not a dream," right? So that was one experience. Second time I had a dream, I actually saw the tunnels. I was led through the tunnels, and I was in a chair, and I saw the same doctor, and she was holding medical equipment. It was some kind of sort of a gun, but it was not to kill me. She was actually shooting something into my shoulders, and it was painful. And I woke up in the dream with her shooting that into me. And I said, "What are you doing to me?" And she said, "I am grounding you. I'm grounding you because your spirit is way too free. You're wandering way too much all over the place. During dream time, you're not going to be able to travel as much." And I said, "No, you can't do this to me. When I wake up, I'm going to get it operated out of me." And she said, "No, you can't, because when you wake up, it will be dissolved into your tissue." And I said, "Unbelievable." So I somehow got out of the chair, to escape her. And I was running down these hallways, and I was captured by two military men, which are a little larger than normal, and almost like super soldiers type of beings. And it seemed like they were like half human, half robot, almost like an altered human, 7 foot tall. And they grabbed me by the arms and they put me back in the chair so she could finish what she was doing. And then I woke up here in real life, and I woke up with terrible, terrible pains in my shoulders, like the dream was real, right? And now whenever I go through the airport, like through any scans or anything, they always ask me, "What's in your shoulders? What's in your shoulders?" And I tell them nothing. "Do you have a bra on or something that has a medal?" And no, most of the time, no. But they always pick up something on the shoulders. So for any ET experiencer, is the thing between our dream world and our reality is significant, because a lot of times we have these experiences and we ask ourselves, are they real or not? So that's what led me to research and go into, hey, could this really be happening? And I've not only, had these experiences, a lot of other extraterrestrials or experiencers have had experiences in deep underground bases or my lab, military abductions. So I was always asking myself, how is it possible? How do they kidnap you? What technology is used to kidnap you out of bed, to do this? Or do they really kidnap your physical self? Or is it a portion of your, external or ethereal self that's there? So I haven't, found an answer to it that satisfied all my knowledge and all my curiosity, but I'm working on it. A lot of times it is the ethereal body that they're dealing with, but a lot of times also they can physically abduct you. How, what technology exists out there, we don't know. These trillions of dollars. I mean, I cannot point and say this, and this technology. I can just say the effect is there. All these trillions of dollars are certainly going somewhere, and a lot of this information that's concealed from the public and privy to only a few. Now, when we hear about people like Emery Smith, for example, talking and coming out where he was actually involved, physically in this life, in this body, and hired to work on some of these projects, then he's doing a great service to humanity, because he's connecting people like me who had these experiences during dream time to, real life stuff that's existing. And then you go, aha, this must be true. Okay. So that's why the abductees and contactees, we constantly refer to deep underground installations within the planet. And then we ask ourselves, could the extraterrestrial phenomenon be directly related to deep underground military facilities, which I would say it's absolutely the case. And just when you think about how many secret projects there are, it's obvious that we don't know everything that's going on. And a lot of the stealth technology and different, how should I say, different projects that are hidden from us are so far advanced scientifically that we cannot even imagine. There's a military base that's known as Area 51 here nearby, our studio actually, and it's called Dreamland, or the area, the spot. They call it in different ways, but it's in Groom Lake, Nevada. definitely, the CIA has knowledge about it, works there. There's, two large underground facilities that are close, but they're separate from Groom Lake, and they're controlled by the same beings, and they work together with humans, and they're testing of various UFOs and other secret aircraft like the Aurora and Stealth are conducted, and also biological work is done, including the biological raising of small greys. So this particular base was, everybody was denying it until not too long ago, and now it's common knowledge, right? So then I guess that's the whole point, of the show, is to do research, to inform yourselves more and more. Now, what we're going through currently on the planet with this COVID scam, total scam, and Bill Gates and whatnot, and rescuing children, and there's a lot of truth, lies, fake news, real news. So currently, we're, as a Russian general actually had said, we're almost living in a war of information, right? You have to be able to sift through information and understand what's true or false for you. And sometimes you can almost get a little nervous not knowing really what's real and what's not. But if we just continue living our lives as is, and then maybe devote a little time into things that interest us without any panic or fear, I think that's the best way. Now, I want to read you an excerpt. It's actually from a book, and it talks about FEMA centers. And it talks about the locals in the area there. They were all over the age of 40, and they're aware of the fact that this base exists and that there is underground facilities there. And the massive complex sits right in the middle of a residential neighborhood. Now, that is a steep hill, and it's called Bottle Canyons Park. And most probably they think it's, just a grueling run for anyone trying to get in shape. But at the side of the top of the hill, that's where the headquarters of the FEMA Region X sit there. And it basically looks like an unimposing collection of one-story buildings where actually underground. It's a multiple-story complex where 170 people work year-round, and they're preparing and mitigating disasters in Washington, and Oregon, and Idaho, and Alaska. So, their staff is on call to respond to any emergency nationwide. And a lot of these facilities are for that reason, officially, to respond to different options there that could happen. And in this current climate where a lot of conspiracy theorists are talking about FEMA centers going on and people being rounded up, people that are not basically going with a normal agenda, I would say a lot of it is the truth. I believe in my previous shows I may have talked about this dream I had that I died in one of those FEMA camps, and it could happen. However, I also reserve the notion that timeline can change, because we are currently living in such shifts that even the Mandela effect, if you're not familiar with it, look it up. Mandela effect, which shows differentiations in existence. And I had a famous professor actually on the show not too long ago. Her name is Cynthia Larson, and she's a physicist at UC Berkeley. And she was talking about the Mandela effect and how it actually, anything is possible by the influence of our thoughts. So if we had a media outlet, I always keep thinking about that. And by all means, if you have the financial means or time on your hands, to create media outlets on the internet, such as London Real that Brian Rose created, where he actually had David Icke speak freely about things David Icke knows without being censored. By any means, any idea that you have right now to help the humanity, do it. Because it is my conviction that currently and I knew this, during the summer, things will kind of simmer down and it'll look almost like we're just entering the new normal and nothing special is going to happen. But we have to keep in mind, they keep pushing these vaccines, which are totally unnecessary. It's unnecessary for our survival, but because they're looking to change the human population and change us into beings that are less spirited and more robotic, they need to do these vaccines. And these vaccines are going to come not only, there's going to be one vaccine and it's going to be administered, by military, as President Trump said in Operation Warp Speed. And then the media, which is the opium of the masses, and it's really misleading the masses, will come out and say, oh, the virus has mutated and we need second, third or fourth. And eventually, to a point, they will be able to accomplish their goals. Lots of people are asking themselves how to stop them and how to stop it, and if to use the weapons or military intervention. Well, there's no simple answer. I'm not calling anyone to arms by any means. We get arrested on the spot, but the thing is, we have to find a way out somehow. So I would say our biggest weapon in this whole scheme of things is our thoughts. If our thoughts are pulling us into the direction of disaster, I think collectively it will happen. The media are fueling their own agenda. I mean, when you watch CNN and Fox News these days, CNN has totally gone, it's totally controlled. Like you just take one look and it's worse than the Nazi television, because it really has an agenda to scare you, to put fear into you. And I mean, how else are you going to wear masks and then conform if there's no fear? But we really are living in a global Nazi Germany at this point. And when you think about these deep underground military bases, which can house, one base can probably house at least 18,000 people, if not more. And who will be really housed there? I mean, why are they building these cities and so on? Will it be, maybe for the solar flares that's coming, or of some kind of altercation on the surface that could preserve them and let us live in difficulties? We don't know, right? We don't know at this point. But either way, we have to keep vigilant, keep informed. As far as summer is nearing to an end, and the WHO has already published in their journals that the second wave officially is starting September 2020. So you will see a lot more changes coming September, October, November, after the elections. If the elections results don't get pushed a little further off, we'll see what happens. But due to the fact that New World Order is restructuring society, there is no end in sight for the probably next 5 to 6 years to this. What we can do in the meantime, I would say, is just try not to argue. It's so easy to just want to go into the store and argue that you shouldn't wear a mask. And I know our producer always reminds me, and she's right, about being very intelligent when we talk to people and discuss why we shouldn't wear a mask and so on. But that I think that's the way to go. That's the way to go. Is just not be aggressive. Like what happened in Kenosha is terrible, but burning the city down and so on, and the race war. I mean, even if you don't want it to happen, the media is pushing it so hard on us. This disparaging between white and black, that it's almost like sickening. It's almost like if you don't take a side, you're not in the flow of things. But you don't need to take a side. The media is the enemy of the people at this point, unfortunately. So when I talk about, there's so many things I disagree with when it comes to Trump, and so many things I do agree with him. One thing I do agree with him is the fake news. I mean, the news is so fake and so controlled that it's unbelievable at this point. And it's very dangerous, because it's different for people who are actually a little more aware, who are aware of what's happening. But imagine the masses. The masses are largely uninformed. And then you have people like my listeners, I'm sure you're very well informed people. And then you have masses who are largely uninformed. They're in the majority. And give them weapons, give them reason to fight, they will fight. I've seen it in the war in my country very easily. The only reason why the war started in my country is because the media made us hate each other. It was talking about one portion of citizens not treating the other portion correctly. Just like right now, every single news story is on cops killing black people. Cops are killing black people. It's like you almost can't ignore it anymore. And this is not about not wanting to stand up for, for black people and people of different skin color. Not at all. Everybody should be treated equally, especially them. And but the fact is, can you imagine, giving weapons now, or like bricks, like they were laying bricks on the side of the road to the uninformed masses that are operating almost on an animalistic instinct of you hate me and I hate you and you're white and I'm black. That's kind of a scary proposition right there. So let's hope it doesn't come to that. And when we educate people around us, try to keep the peace and information on the highest level possible. So hopefully we can avoid something like of the likes that happened in my country when the whole country went into a civil war state and we were in it for 4 to 5 years. Food became scarce, electricity was cut off, water supply was cut off, and who survived, basically. And even then, empathy is very important. Even then, helping each other is the strongest way to go. Not really cocooning yourself in your house and being like, I'm going to, use my weapons. Whoever wants to attack me, I'm going to shoot them. That's not really always the way to go because then it's just going to be everybody for themselves, right? And people killing people. But it's more like about consciousness. Okay, so we're at the end of the show. I wish you guys a beautiful week. I hope this was informational to a point, and enjoy your weekend.
You've been listening to Our Reality, hosted by Violeta Frankovic. Live every Saturday from the heart of Las Vegas, Nevada, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. For more information on the host as well as the show, as well as upcoming guests, please check out our reality show page at kcorradio.com.
Our reality.
From the ordinary to the extraordinary, we've got you covered. Our reality, changing the world, one topic at a time.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51.
Wait, that doesn't exist.
This is the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Now for the news.